Just going to give people just a second because I can see people starting to join in the attendee box here. All right, well, I think we'll have some people hopping on, but let's get started. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. This is Jess Willey. I'm the Research and Education Director at the Oregon Wine Board. I'm pleased to bring you this webinar this afternoon with Tim Hanni, who's Master of Wine and CEO at Wine Business Education. You may have met Tim in many venues in the past, and he's a frequent participant at the Oregon Wine Symposium, and he has been a partner of ours for many years, especially on the Profit Planner workbooks, which is why we've brought him here today. This is kind of part two of a two-part webinar. You may have attended Patty Skinkis's webinar earlier this week. And this now moving in with Tim is about using his Profit Planner tool from Wine Business Education to help make informed decisions with your vineyard practices using the Vineyard P&L and cash flow workbook. So Tim, can you advance the slide? We've just got a little bit of house. Thank you. Thank you. So we've just got a little bit of housekeeping. So one thing is that we've got the Q&A function on this webinar. That would be the preferred way to ask any questions. I'll be keeping an eye on those as Tim's speaking. And if anything does come up that needs clarification for what he's presenting at the moment, I can make sure that he receives those questions. Otherwise, there will be some Q&A time at the end. And so if it doesn't seem like it's an urgent question, it might be saved till the end, then we'll address those after Tim's presentation. We will be recording this. It is being recorded, and I'll share this later this week. You'll receive an email from me with the link to the recording, as well as a short survey, and I just appreciate the feedback on this and any ideas you have for future educational programming that we can provide to help. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Tim. Take it away,
Great.
Tim.
Thanks so much. And on the topic of questions, I've also got numerous questions that came up during the great presentation by Patty Skinkis earlier this week. Some that you guys included in your registrations, and so general things. So hopefully we'll be able to get everything covered as we go. Today is really going to be ask me to start my video. Did the screen just change for you guys? Okay.
We can see it. We can see you, Tim. Thank you.
I got some weird dialog box. I apologize. If you need to sign up for an account, they've provided a link in the chat. If you already have an account or think you have an account but can't remember your password, go to the winebusinesseducation.com site, and there's a password reset. You put in your email and so forth. And we'll handle any questions about that also in any follow-up it's needed. And when you get set up, make sure to check your spam folder for your login details when you sign up and when if you forgot your password and need it resent. So just very quickly. For today, we are in the process of updating the system, and this is to accommodate a lot of the feedback and the requests that we've already received. It's part of our process. We want to make this a valuable tool for everybody. We listen to the feedback and we respond. The updates will be completed by no later than July 4th. And today's demonstration is going to show you how to get started, the inputs, the functionalities. And if you want to get started or have started a project already, all that information will be saved. The updates will just simply improve the functionality and some of the glitches that we're currently experiencing, which I'll point out, okay? And then also I'm going to show you the instructional templates that we have. And once we get all these changes done, we'll have new instructional templates to make using it as easy as possible. Okay, so what does the Vineyard P&L do? It's an end-to-end view of operational costs and inputs, revenue, and the ability to run scenarios and look at your profit and loss for a 15-year forecast and run scenarios based on variable yields and pricing. The kind of things you'll be able to do is input for different cost reduction scenarios, yield increases, decreases, taking some vineyard out of production, putting more vineyard into production, different harvesting costs, all sorts of stuff. So that's basically what the program does. The 15-year view of profitability and cash flow, once you get your basic inputs into the program, you'll then, and I'll demonstrate, you'll have 15 years where you can make the adjustments for year-to-year cost of living increase, additional capital expenditures, taking vineyard out of production, doing all sorts of stuff, and it gives you the ongoing financial implications. And what this means at the end of the day is you got these adjustable variables so that you can work to optimizing your profitability, look at these different scenarios for your planning and forecasting. So today what we're going to do is start with what we call quick start inputs. Then we'll show the profit and cash flow forecasting that this does, go into long-term expense and yield adjustments, optimizing yields, price and profit, and then replanting, retooling, and redeveloping scenarios, and then get to the Q&A. So that's what we're going to cover, okay? I'll get to that later. And this is the program. When you log into an account, what you're going to see, let me actually start from the beginning. When you log into an account, this is what it looks like. You have free access to all 6 of these financial planning tools. We will be focusing today on the Vineyard Profit and Loss and Cash Flow Workbook. When you create new workbooks, you just simply click on it. And then when we go into the workbook, I'll show you how you save that so that you can have a number you can save and recall and clone and do all sorts of stuff once you've created a workbook, which I'll go over. So this is what the account looks like, and once you're set up. And so when I go in, what I'm going to want to do is I've been working on this program, which is the basic vineyard program. I've named it the Oregon Wine Board Trail Ridge Block A. So when you make a workbook, you get to name it specific to the project that you're working on. When you're doing a vineyard project, you can do it of any size, shape, or form that you would like. And it could be an entire vineyard, or you could do separate blocks systematically, which is facilitated by using a cloning aspect of this. But the basic inputs include naming the vineyard or block that you're working on, putting your date in, your name, and then the name of your winery. So this is just simply things that you'll use to identify what the project is, and of course, naming this later for recalling it. The primary drivers or levers are how many planted acres is the vineyard, what is your yield that you anticipate in tons per acre, and your average price per ton. When you're first setting up the workbook, I encourage you to not try to be too detailed at this point, because when we get to the profit and cash flow tab up here, it's going to give us the ability to very finely adjust things on a year-to-year basis. So when you're doing these inputs, it'll accommodate whatever size vineyard you'd like, what the average price per ton is, and it's also going to, as soon as we get some expenses in here, give us a dashboard that's going to look at our expenses, and we're going to, in the upgrades by next Thursday, this will show it per acre and total, and then it'll show your gross margin per acre and total, and then your total gross margin for the vineyard. So basically, if we were to adjust the cost per ton of this to $2,800 a ton, if that's what your average is, oops, it'll then make the calculations in your dashboard up here immediately, so you can kind of see what the results are very quickly. All right. If we go in and adjusted our yield, again, you would want to put in an estimated target yield for the vineyard. Finer adjustments are going to be made when we get to the profit and cash flow. But if you know that you typically get 2.8 acres, I can go ahead and put that in there, and it'll then make all the calculations and differences. The other part of the project info page is that it's going to give us a number of breakdowns of our expenses per acre with harvest costs, with excluding harvest costs, with harvest costs, gross revenue per acre, and revenue total. And then over here, more information, including development costs, if you're developing new winery or new acreage. Okay. Below here is a matrix that we're actually going to eliminate because we've worked everything into the ongoing profit and cash flow. So any questions about this page? It's pretty basic, and again, these are the simplest things. Okay. In the expenses cost, or tab, it's going to transfer information over here, and then the inputs can either be entered as a total. So let's say that operating this vineyard costs X amount per year and per acre. So the kind of quick way of doing that will be to enter, if you know what your past expenses are, what your operating expenses are. Now, this field's not fully functional yet. So if you're doing this right now, there's a field for management fees, and this is for like if you have a management contract or something like this. And so for the demonstration today, I've put $300,000 for managing the 50 acres, which then it breaks down to about $6,000 per acre. And so up here in our expenses and our margins and so forth, this is the data that's being pulled on a very general basis for our profit and loss scenarios. If you want to change the tons per acre, again, I'm going to show you how to adjust that in a more detailed and yearly fashion. But if you want to adjust this, you have to go back to the project page and do it there. So consider that we have $300,000 entered into here. All right. In harvest costs and through this entire page, this is the quick start version, but you're going to see that you can break your harvest cost per ton into, what are the freight, the taxes and fees, any other expenses, and so on. So you can do it in as detailed or as a general an amount you want. If you say, oh, okay, well, my harvest costs are $600. Again, when I input that, you're going to see what that does immediately. So when you're running harvest scenarios, when you're looking at mechanical versus hand or some combination, what's going on in the labor market and so forth, you can use these fields to make adjustments to get immediate implications to your top line expenses and margins. Okay. The detailed version of the expenses allows you to put in numerous inputs for labor, vineyard management, full-time labor, payroll, overhead and benefits, and so on. You can itemize your equipments and supplies with irrigation, pest disease monitoring, trellis maintenance, and others, etc. Canopy management, pruning. So in addition to the quick start is the more detailed version of this that brings us down to a very detailed basis. Nutritional costs, what you're paying, price per unit. So if you're looking to have something to get into this detail, it's here for you. I'm not going to go into it today, but it's also a great kind of reminder of all the things that go into the operational costs. Now, we've done a couple workshops with the Oregon Wine Board at the Oregon Wine Symposium. And in the workshops, I've typically been myself and an accountant or a CPA simultaneously, because we don't recommend you use this for your final books, but because of the features, you can do a quick input with your best estimate of your annual expenses. Uh, we're going to go into the profit and cash flow and those kind of things to see the scenarios. Then uh, when you originally sit down, if you want to do the details, or after you've closed the books on a year, then you can go over this and go through with your bookkeeper, with your vineyard manager, with whoever's necessary, and start to put in the detailed information. Now, what's really nice about this also is at the bottom of every one of these pages is a clone feature. So let's say that I'm doing one block of a vineyard, 10 acres, or 25 of a total of 100 acres. If you're doing that, you can put in your detailed inputs and then clone the project, and it will make a copy with all of those details in it to do another portion of the vineyard if you're trying to get a handle on individual block or different vineyard location areas. So so it's got a really nice feature there. At the end of this, it's going to have irrigation and water costs, but it's going to give you your farming expenses, excluding harvest, including harvest, total expenses per acre, your margin per acre, including debt service, which we won't go into, your total expenses, and your gross margin. So every page has a dashboard on it as you're working through the page, and it's also then giving sort of your top line information up there. So the recap for the quick start is put in your harvest costs, put in your total expenses in the management fees for now. We'll have this up and running very quickly next week, and then we're ready to kind of get going with things. And that'll get us over to our profit and cash flow page. And this will take just a second because of, so this is really kind of where we're excited about this whole thing. What the profit and cash flow page is going to show us the number of planted acres, tons per acre at maturity, and the price per ton. These are actually going to appear up here as soon as we launch the new platform. But it's now going to show us 15 years. It's just showing 10 on the page, but there's 5 more years. And this is where you get to start to look at different scenarios for making improvements, for taking vines out of production, for all sorts of different things down the road. The first group of information is going to be your income per year. And it also allows for the input of additional income of any sort that might come up, subsidies or anything that you have that would impact your total income. Okay. The first thing that you do is you put in your estimated yield per acre for the specific year. Now, this is where you can, on the fly, kind of make adjustments for different vintage conditions or situations, for taking a percentage of vineyard out of production to either go fallow or just to drop the fruit, or to take it out of production while it's being retrofitted, those kind of things. So along the top, generally you just put in whatever your basic tons per acre at maturity target is, and then you can make the adjustment. Now, we just noticed that the first 3 years, something is messing up our expenses. So this is one of the glitches I was talking about. So what I'm going to do is use year 4 for the demonstration here. So let's say that we're in year 4 of our vineyard. This could be the first year when we get this fixed. It'll show our income. If we wanted to put in any additional income or subsidies, it'll show here. The thing to remember, it's no longer showing what's going on up here, but it's going to be reflected in the annual cash flow down here for year 4. Okay. So let's say that we're forecasting for a better yield. Let's say that maybe we had a lousy fruit set or whatever. So if I put in 2.8 tons per acre and hit tab, these load a little bit slowly. I apologize for that. But what it's going to start to do then is to adjust and populate what this means in terms of our income for this specific year. Okay. So as you'll see, it's now making these adjustments for additional income or so forth, and for that lower yield. So rather than going to the project information to make your yield adjustments, you make them in here for the individual years that you've got coming down the road. And let's say that following down this same column, we also have the ability to put in any subsequent capital purchases you might anticipate making. So if you know that you spend a certain amount, or you need a new piece of equipment, you need to buy new cuttings, whatever, that would go in here. So that's then going to affect your overall expenses you had. We've also got the ability to put in a percentage for variable costs. Cost of living, which a lot of people will just put in like 2% going down the road. And so when you put in a variable cost into this, it's, let's say that we were just going to plan a 2% cost of living increase. And then it's going to give you what that would be in terms of the dollars based on your expenses, and then add it to the total expenditure. So this line, the total expenditures, is going to be the sum of your expenses carried forward, any additional capital purchases, and then any percentages that you're anticipating. This is mostly useful in your forecasting. Okay. And then down below is going to be when you start to sort this all out, you'll be able to also see what it does to your cumulative cash flow, your annual cash flow. You'll see your expenditures and your income all recapped down here. Okay. Let's say then we want to create a scenario. Okay, we looked at different scenarios for retooling the vineyard, redoing trellising system, seeing if we can increase our yield. So we're going to take a portion of the vineyard out of production. So if we're forecasting that for next year, and we're anticipating generally 3 tons per acre. So let's say we wanted to replant a third of the vineyard. The way we would do that is reduce our anticipated yield, and then that will in effect take that percentage of the vineyard out of production. So you can put in any figure you need proportionate to how much you're going to take out of production. It's then going to, and we'll talk about the capital purchases and stuff in a moment, because this is beware. All right, you're going to take out of production 33% of your vineyard, and then what's your cost of the new trellising, of the labor, of everything for that period of time, and that number would then go in here. So let's say that just for that's $75,000. And so now it's going to go ahead and slowly populate. I apologize for the of the program during this period. And while that's deciding what it's going to do, give us a reduction in due to out of production, combined with expenditures, it's going to up to year 6. Is that still going to be 2 tons per acre? When does this a percentage of the vineyard taken out of production, when does it start coming back into production? So the scenario will typically be, it'll be out of production for at least 3 years, and then you can start looking at coming back up into production fully or proportionately over time. And then when you get to the year that it's in full, so let's say it's 2.5 acres, and then let's say by the time it comes in, you're actually now up to a higher production because of your retrofit. That might have been the intention, and then you can start to see what that'll look like in terms of your long-term profit and loss. Okay, and while that's filling in, again, that's going to be reflected down here, so you can say, okay, this is what it'll be, for each year of these, and then this is how much it is for that year, and then how much it would be long term. Okay. Now, in terms of, well, how much does that cost? So I actually, before I get to that, this should, if considering redesign, if you're considering take things out of production, if you might want, there's some discussion of certain blocks just taking them out of production altogether, but you're still going to have costs associated with it. You can run all of those scenarios in this program now on this page. And then for development costs, this page does not affect anything here or in your cash flow. It's when we relaunch, it's actually going to be moved to the end. If you're starting a new vineyard, this is basically where you start with your purchase price, water costs, preparation, clearing, surveys, planting. This is a kind of a useful uh, uh, little piece here, and just show you kind of how this works. So let's say that uh, you're paying $8 a vine and planting, and you're looking at various density scenarios. Uh, so you can put in 1250, oops, if you put the numbers incorrect, 1250 vines per acre at $8 an acre, and it's going to do your math for you. Well, how much would it be if we went to a higher density? And let's say that we used an 1850 density and so forth. So this gives you a calculator, and plus you can put in your labor. How much would it be more or less based on the number of vines per acre? Your vine training system, or yeah, and in most of these categories, there's an other field for whatever may come up. So if now let's talk more towards the replanting scenario. If we're taking 10% of our vineyard out of production, or 30% or so forth, you can then use these numbers and then divide it by the number of vineyard you're replanting. And I'll so you get to put in your cost of the vines, any other aspects of that you're changing, uh, and then also your there's a space in here for your trellising and so forth. So once you get expenses done on here, this is sort of a playground, if you will, and you can then estimate your cost for replanting, and then go back over to your profit and loss calculator, or profit and loss tab. And it's actually going to then allow you to put that number. So if we're taking 33, a third of our acreage out, we would use the development cost to forecast our capital purchases, and then use a third of what that number was to put into this. And then any subsequent additional labor and materials and so forth that's required while that portion is being developed. Okay. So the development cost tab allows you to run the different cost scenarios and determine what your costs are going to be for the replanting and reconfiguring. Okay. All right. So that's basically how this works. And again, this is just to give you the sort of the quick start guide. Um, uh, it's valuable for many people. And then what we recommend is, again, when you get to the end of a year and close the books out, you can make adjustments for each year. And let's say that we started with year one, and then year two, you had these. You can make your forecasts on a detailed basis. You can then sit down with your books, or if you do them yourselves, or with your bookkeeping, and update it. And then it runs your scenarios and gives you what you need. So that is how the program works. Now, a number of questions that we get. Where do you get the numbers if you're just starting out? And where did I get these numbers? So these are just pulled from fantasy best estimates. They're certainly not specific. Um, but one of the things that we really recommend is please participate in the industry surveys of costs done by the universities, done by the Oregon Wine Board. These things are so important to find out what are the benchmarks, what are the standard operating costs, uh, and so forth. Uh, there are innumerable ways to search online for wine growing and wine production and so forth. And then also, don't forget at the symposium and through the Oregon Wine Board, you can find an awful lot of information detailed. So if you're looking kind of to see where should we be in terms of our costs and our profitability, uh, a lot of resources existing for that kind of stuff, and then different studies done by different universities and so forth that give you the breakdown. So we see our tool as something that can be used in conjunction with other data, and then also uh, uh, give you something that gives you the levers to push and pull. You can access this anytime, create as many scenarios as you'd like, and then go in and see what the impact is for the decisions you make as you're trying to optimize your profitability. Something else to point out is in the upper left-hand corner is a click here for tutorials. Let me see. Um, Now, I'm sorry, I've been overlooking the chat. I thought those were going to come up. Let me see. Okay. Um, if you click on this tutorials button that's on the page, it'll open up a separate page with tutorials for each of the workbooks, including the Vineyard P&L. And so when you click on that, then it kind of goes step by step. And again, we'll be redoing this as we're redoing the site for the new functionality uh, uh, from the questions that we had from this. And this will be a step-by-step guide to walk you through setting up your first workbook. Okay. All righty. And then let's see, I think we are open for questions. Anything anybody might like to see demonstrated or clarified?
So Tim, this is Patty Skinkis. I just wanted to mention one thing is that we do have Vineyard numbers in our enterprise budget that the most recent one was published in 2018, and that's available anytime, open access on our OSU Wine Grape Extension website, and I dropped the link in the chat. Now, I know 2018 is a while ago, but the main thing that has changed since that time in that scenario is just the cost of labor. And the hours per acre for some of the scenarios were vetted and determined at that time aren't going to be very different. You can check those out there as a starting point. But we also have 3 more enterprise budgets that we are working on right now. So James Stearns here at OSU Applied Econ Department is working on 3 scenarios that will encapsulate a small a production vineyard, a large production vineyard with more mechanization, and an organic vineyard. So, and maybe there's even a fourth one that has frost protection included. So we're trying to not hit on regions of the state. We're trying to hit on scenarios that would transcend regions in the state and allow people to have those baseline numbers that you could then plug into a tool like this.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And Patty, if you'd ever, just a little aside, like to go through this together, I'd love to share it in a little more depth. And because one of the questions, that comes up frequently, well, what about what's the difference if I invest or transition to going organic or sustainable and so forth? And the way that would be handled in this program is uh, you would look at what is the projected value in ton per acre uh, that you would realize, and again, to do that in the profit and cash flow tab. And then what additional costs are there that might be adjusted, either the long term, going in here, and then looking at the labor expense, I'm sorry, labor expenses, any other, aspects of general maintenance, canopy management, uh, and so forth. The other categories, if there's a cost for certification or this or that, usually relatively minor, but important, they can be input into any of the other fields. So that's great. Thank you. Anything else?
I guess I don't see any questions in the Q&A, but I have a question, Tim.
Yes.
So this is a new workbook that's being developed, but it sounds like it's been available to the Oregon wine industry for some time now. Is that correct? And I'm not sure how many people even know this exists, and I think this would be good to make sure we get more people connected with this.
That's been one of our challenges. So the background of this is something that this is a process that I used in teaching going back over 30 years. Uh, it evolved into spreadsheets that I worked with Cal Poly in San Luis and Dr. Bill Amsbatcher and people down there. I was on their board for a number of years. It then morphed into an online training tool or education tool for an online business courses. And by the way, one of these workbooks is used in the Linfield University courses, for the winery cost of goods. This has been the most uh, challenging of the workbooks, the most complicated. But now, since we're re-engaging and we're getting all these great questions and how could it be used for this? Could it be used for that? Uh, uh, our retooling of the program is so that we can do the quick start and make it simpler for those who want it simpler and address uh, the questions that are top of mind today for labor, for yields, for market conditions, and so forth. So this has been around for a very, very long time. And again, when you go into your account, you'll have the opportunity to see there's a wine pricing calculator that can be used from winery FOB through three-tier system pricing and so forth, a blending profitability workbook. The wine cost of goods is the most used one. We have a tasting room profitability workbook, Vineyard P&L, obviously the topic of today, and one for also looking at sales channels, marketing, and budgeting, and so forth for marketing and sales. So each one of these follows, once you kind of learn the programs, this is the winery cost of goods. And with project info, you put in your grape costs and so forth. So we've got a number of these available for different parts of the winery operations. And as you develop them and so forth, again, when you let's see, I don't want to say that. When you go in, you've got your saved workbooks for Vineyard P&L, for cost of goods, for tasting room, and so on and so forth. So very flexible and a number of different workbooks that are available.
Yeah, thanks, Tim, for kind of giving an overview of all that's in this. I do want to mention that this is something that the wine board believes can be a great resource, which is why we're partnering with Wine Business Education. And through that, these tools are available for free to all Oregon vineyard and winery operations. Whereas ordinarily, if you were just going to sign up, there's a fee associated with that. Tim also offers a wine business course that I think he's offering a discount on for our industry, thanks to the partnership that we have with them. And so, yeah, he's showing this here. And so just know that this is out here. We are, Patty, I take your point about, this is something we have been working on since what, 2017 with you, Tim? Is that right?
Yes.
More or less. And at that point, we had a big campaign around getting folks to sign up and use this. And I think there was quite a lot of interest in it. And we have an opportunity to get the word out again, especially with so many new folks in the business facing different challenges than they were 7 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago when we first launched this with you. So great opportunity to kind of get more usage out of a really valuable tool.
And coming down the pike, we're planning to do one of these webinars every quarter, starting with the vineyard because it's kind of top of mind right now. I believe that our next workshop, roughly 3 months from today, will be the winery cost of goods. The production end of it. Then we'll do one for tasting room, etc. So we'll actually have a series of these webinars demonstrating how to use each of the workbooks. And then a quick word about the business of wine. This is we've had literally thousands of people complete this course. So anybody that wants a better fundamental understanding from the ground to the glass, and we go through it in a sequence of following the wine supply chain and value chain, and then using critical thinking to say, okay, you want to do this for a supply chain or a business decision. What are your implications of quality and positioning and so on and so forth. So it's a really great course, and we're very proud of it. It's broken down. So you can, at winebusinesseducation.com, there's an overview, a syllabus, and so forth. And it's used by over a dozen formal universities around the world, including Switzerland and China and so forth. So for anybody who wants to get a much better understanding of the business or have employees that you would like to get a better overall understanding, because this is one of the areas of wine education I see one of the biggest weaknesses, and that's in really understanding how the business works. We get so caught up with the product sometimes.
Great. Thank you, Tim. I don't see any questions coming in. We're going to post this up on our website, and thanks to everybody for participating today and listening. Hopefully you found this valuable. Like I said at the top, I'll be sending around a brief survey. Just let us know what you thought. And then Tim, did you have another slide where you wanted to share that the code here? Oh, there you go.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, okay. Oh, I think the one before this one.
And I'll
Can you
leave
move
this
it?
up also. If anybody wants to reach out to me directly and discuss thoughts or functionality or problems that you have, and always glad to help. There's my cell phone number and my email, and let us know how we can help make your business more profitable, more sustainable, and improve our tools to do what we can in forwarding that.
Excellent. Thank you, Tim, for being such a great resource for our industry. Appreciate
Great.
you. Yep. Great.
Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it and love to hear from you.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.